99.1 The Sports Animal and AM 640 The Sports Monster in the Tri-Cities area. However you're tuning in today, we appreciate you being with us. Streaming live, you can watch on YouTube today as well as VFL. And former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain is here. I'm Josh Ward. Swain, good afternoon. How are we?
What's up, man? What's up? You ready to go today?
I think I'm ready.
Getting closer and closer, my friend, to some Tennessee football being played this time on the road for an opportunity to get our first big-time road win since 2022 versus LSU. That was the LSU team that went on to play for an SEC title. That was a team that went on to beat Alabama, a team that we beat. So we certainly want to say that was a big-time win. That was a good team because it beat the team that we beat. And so this is a great opportunity to get another big-time win on the road, but it has been a while. Didn't get one last year. Didn't get one outside of LSU in 22, but the scene is set, my friend. College game day. It's a night game. We've seen all the articles come out about Josh Heupel's connection to Oklahoma. I'm ready to play some football. It's just Wednesday, though.
Well, Swain, since that win against LSU, that was a big-time win in 2022. Going down to Baton Rouge and winning is a huge deal. But They did win in Lexington and Nashville last year and the season before.
Josh, that's not a big-time win. That's a good win, but that's not big-time. That's not the same thing as Baton Rouge, Death Valley. We've heard so many stories about how difficult it is to play down there. It doesn't matter if it's a night game, although it is harder to play a night game. I know. I've been there. And then to play a day game is hard too. Tennessee went down there and whooped up on LSU from the opening kickoff. That win at Death Valley is a lot different than Kroger Field. And then don't even get me started on the Vanderbilt game. You know that's a home game, Josh. Stop playing with me.
So you're dismissing my attempt to equate the win at LSU with the win at Kentucky or Vanderbilt?
Yes, Josh, I'm dismissing you.
Okay. Well, there's no debate here. In Norman, however this Oklahoma team ends up being this season, we'll see. This is their first real test of this. I know they were tested by Houston, but come on. This is Tennessee coming to town, a top 5 to top 10 team, depending on who you ask. Everybody says top 10 team at this point and a serious playoff contender. This is a huge deal in Norman, but I'm not finding many people that are saying Oklahoma is going to win the game. I'm sure that there's some of that talk in Oklahoma, but step outside the state of Oklahoma, Swain, and I haven't found it yet. I saw the CBS Sports college football discussion yesterday, 4 panelists all picking Tennessee to win the game. A lot of national picks have pointed to Tennessee this week.
Yeah, it's Vols. It's not Vols. It's Vols. VAWLS. Vols. That's how you say it. We got to help out the people over there at CBS and all the other Northerners that try to say the Vols name. Come on now, we can help you with that. The Vols will be on display a lot this season, so you're gonna be talking about them a lot. So we need you to get the name right, okay? Very, very important. But yeah, no one's picking Oklahoma over there. You look at the matchup. The matchup is in Tennessee's favor, and that's why I think Oklahoma players and ex-coaches that have trouble spelling, they are trying to get their fans into the game. They need them to be loud because Tennessee offensively needs to make mistakes for OU to have a chance to win, and so crowd noise can play a part in it. We saw when the roles were reversed in 2015, Oklahoma came here and Tennessee got up to, a 17-0 lead. The crowd was a big reason why. And so Oklahoma needs the same type of impact on Tennessee from their fans. And that's what you should expect if you are Tennessee's offense.
To quote Bob Stoops from Twitter, let's hear you, OU fans. Bob Stoops calling for the fans to be loud on Saturday night. I think I saw Danny Stutzman kind of predict that there would be some kind of public call for the fans to be loud by Bob Stoops.
Yep. We don't need to do that over here. We already know what the assignment is. We know the assignment. Josh Heupel doesn't need to tell the crowd to get loud. Not saying he hasn't, but he doesn't need to. We know what to do. when Florida comes up in here, when Alabama comes up in here, we know what to do. We know the assignment here in Vol Nation. But if you're OU, you know ball. You understand the matchup. I know Tennessee has played against Kent State and UTC, and I think NC State is right there with Tulane and Houston. And you can spin this thing how you want to if you're an OU fan. Hey, we've been battle tested. Yeah, why were you battle tested? Why were you tested versus OU? Versus Houston. Why were you tested versus Tulane the way you were in the fourth quarter? The fact that you were battle tested doesn't mean that's a good thing, because you should have beaten them by multiple scores. You didn't handle business because, quite frankly, you're just not as good as Tennessee. Now, it doesn't really matter who's the better team going into the game. It matters who's the best during the game. And that's Tennessee's responsibility to make sure everyone knows that.
In the text box, Brent sent us a message and said, we're way too overconfident. The Sooners can win this game, stop the run, put pressure on Nico, grind it out on offense, combined with the crowd noise. They are a threat.
Okay, yeah, they are a threat.
Curly in the text box, looking forward to the game, but historically, we don't fare well as a favorite in these big games. There's a little fear starting to creep in, Swain.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Now, Lenny texted in 45-13 Vols. So he's got Tennessee by 32 points. I think that might have been our score forward guess yesterday. The score yesterday was close to that. So Lenny is not scared. Lenny has Tennessee winning by more than 30 on Saturday night.
Historically, who's on the coaching staff? Who's on the roster that you're referring to from the past?
Well, there's a fair amount of players on this team that were on last year's team and even the 22 squad.
Yeah, correct. But like historically, we're talking like 5-10 years ago when you use the word historically. I mean, if you want to say last year, then say last year.
Now, Patrick believes this is an LSU 2022 scenario. So the Vols getting ready to go to Johnson City and lay a whooping.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go that far. I am confident about Tennessee's chance to leave 1 point better. So my confidence comes from watching the film. My confidence comes from watching Tennessee every single play on a field level view, being at practice, watching OU thoroughly. Like, that's where my confidence from. It's just not because Tennessee's wearing orange and OU is not. The matchups are in Tennessee's favor in the trenches and on the perimeter. So I look at Tennessee's biggest strength is OU's biggest weakness. That does not bode well inside of the SEC. So that's where my confidence comes from. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Tennessee is going to win 47-3. I just think Tennessee's going to win the football game.
Daniel says 50-piece coming on Saturday. So I read you a couple of the concerned texts, and they have been countered with, I think, confident texts ×2. Bram says, time to move on from thinking we're the old Tennessee. We win by 21 plus.
I mean, my goodness, what does Tennessee athletics need to do for this scary stuff to get out of the way? I mean, goodness gracious, Tennessee baseball won a national championship. Tennessee basketball went to Elite Eight. All the sports are thriving. Kids want to come to Tennessee. Tennessee's getting national attention. Like, my goodness. We ain't going to put the pacifier down.
I think when Tennessee's record is officially stamped at 16-0.
Okay. We'll maybe waiting a long time because I don't know if there's going to be any team in the country that's 16-0.
Tennessee could be 16-0, and there will be some fear that something will be done to come in and take it away. So there's only so much you can say.
I mean, it's hard to enjoy the moment when you live in a fear. Like, oh no, I'm just not gonna believe. I'm just not. No, I got. How can you really enjoy it when you're thinking like that? I don't.
Maybe just me.
but I just can't. I can't roll that way. But I do think Tennessee's a better team, and if Tennessee was playing Georgia or Alabama this week, I wouldn't have the same tone as I have right now because they're better than Oklahoma, and they will present some different challenges for us. And I don't know how well we will be playing when we play those teams, but they will be a harder challenge than OU for sure. So I won't have the same tone. I can promise you that.
Is the fan experience meant to be enjoyed?
I mean, I thought it was when you top 10 in the country, and I mean, you've been winning in multiple sports over the last couple of years. I thought you were supposed to enjoy it, but I don't know, man.
I don't know if that's natural for at least a certain percentage of any fan base, Tennessee's especially. You're not comfortable unless you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, hey, that may be true, and it's okay for fans to be confident. It's not like Omar Thomas is out here talking about, oh yeah, we got the big advantage. Our strength of our football team is their weakness. Tennessee's gonna win this game. It's not like Tim Banks is saying that or William Inge. It's fans. It's local media that's saying this. For the 20,000th time, we can say this. We're not going to impact the football game, okay?
Wouldn't you love it if Amari Thomas was asked, so, Amari, what's the biggest key to this game? And he says, just show up.
He could have said that last week and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, that kind of week, when UTEP week rolls around, I want one of the seniors, it needs to be a senior to say it. I want Cooper or Amari Thomas to say, as long as we're there, we will win the game.
I mean, maybe against UTEP, maybe.
This is not the week to say that. Let's see.
Absolutely not.
41-27. Rocky Top rocks. Rocky Top rolls. Randall says 38-20. Nelson says time to take those cups off, and Steve says 54-17.
My goodness.
See over Oklahoma. We'll come back. Continue to ask what you think. How you feeling? Halfway through the week. 865-656-9900 if you'd like to join us, along with VFL and former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain. I'm Josh Ward on Josh and Swain. wide receiver Jason Swain is here. I'm Josh Ward. John says 41-23. Vols on Saturday. 41-23. He was at 38-23 and added a field goal, John says. So he's up to 41-23. It's good from Max Gilbert. See, another text. Richard says, Swain, tell the worrywarts that BVS is over. The baseball team put that to bed. Let's ride. Stop worrying.
Yeah, that's not to say that Tennessee's never going to lose a game anymore, but, like, my goodness, how can you enjoy the moment when you're all scared, got lemon booty? Just ride. Be confident in your squad.
38
better than
20.
OU.
Boom Boom Brian calling for 300 again from Dylan Sampson.
OU's defense is good when it comes to stopping the run. So, Boom Boom said that yesterday. I didn't even respond because my brother knows me, which is why he said it again today.
That's why I brought it up again.
Exactly, because he knows me. But Dylan Sampson ain't getting 300 yards on Saturday. I wish he will. I hope he does. It means he'll have to interview with me after the game. I know how excited he is about that. But I just don't see anyone rushing for 300 yards versus OU. I got respect for the team now. Like, their defense is pretty good at stopping the run. They don't allow a ton of explosive plays. They haven't, those games that they were close with Tulane and Houston, they were low-scoring games. So I got a lot of respect for their defense. The thing is, they can be good defensively, but OU's offense is so inconsistent, they can't generate big plays. And not being able to do that means that they'll have to count on long drives to go score. If Tennessee plays the field position well, OU's offense will have to go 10-play, 8-play, and I know they go up-tempo, but if they're not ripping off chunk yardage, then they'll have to run more plays. And I don't see them being able to do that and score consistently. So when they have 3-and-outs or when they have a short drive, the pressure is going to be on the Oklahoma defense. They may hold up the first quarter. They may hold up the second quarter. But the championship game where Clemson is playing Alabama, and Alabama's defense was stout that year. Alabama's defense broke at the end because they had to play 90 snaps. Well, that's what happens when you have a defense that's good and an offense that's not so good. At some point, the defense breaks because they've been on the field way too long because the offense can't stay on the field. And I think that's what's going to happen on Saturday.
35-9 says Nelson. OU kicks all field goals. Swain, that would be 5 straight games if Nelson's prediction comes true that Tennessee would have kept the opposing team's offense out of the end zone. Let's say hello to Michael on Josh and Swain. Michael, thank you for calling in. Good afternoon. What's on your mind today?
Hey, guys. How's it going today?
Great.
I just want to come on here and voice my opinion. I can't agree no more with what y'all are saying this morning, Swain. Just these people are too worried about the past, man. You got. I'm a look at the present time kind of guy. And when I watch this team, I see a new head on their shoulders. I see a team that is focused on the main goal, and that's winning every game. And just to be honest with you, the thing that gets on my nerves the most that I've been seeing out of these Oklahoma fans is they're saying, well, Tennessee's played this team, and this team that are not even irrelevant, and they think they're on top of the world. Well, let me tell you something. My opinion, yeah, we have played some little teams, okay? North Carolina State may not have been what we thought they were, but we've handled business, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you right now, and I'll eat crow Monday if I'm wrong. We're going to handle business in Norman, and we got to quit looking at the past, and we got to look at what we're doing now, and our main goal is to win, and we're going to handle business like we have the past 3 games, and we're going to do it again here Saturday night. So, go Vols.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, Michael.
That's right. Yeah, OU fans, I probably wouldn't be pointing out Tennessee's opponents if I were y'all. Like, yeah, Tennessee beat 3 inferior opponents. You struggled versus inferior opponents. Like, you're only highlighting that you're not that good right now. Now, you may be good on Saturday, but you haven't played well yet. You haven't played well all season. The first game, all right, you won big, but Temple, come on now. It's a basketball school. But Houston, you played down the competition. Offense was terrible. Didn't have a 100-yard rusher. Couldn't put up any points. And then don't get me started on Tulane. You were up 21-0, and you're in a dogfight in the fourth quarter. Your quarterback throws a pick six. So you should have blown out those teams if you were better, but you're not. So why are you bragging about Tennessee whooping up on inferior opponents, something you failed to do? That makes no sense to me.
In the text box, 49-12, touchdown streak still alive for Tennessee's defense. Tom says 38-10, Vols. And Brent says 17-14 OU. In parentheses, I don't believe this. I just want to set Jason off. Brent in West Texas, based on the town he provided, Swain. It's in the mid-90s today for Brent. So take it easy on him with the response. By the way, that'll be your temperature on Saturday there in Norman.
Hey, that's not going to set me up if someone believes that OU is going to beat Tennessee. I just don't see Tennessee only scored 17 points, and OU putting up multiple touchdowns. But yeah, it's going to be hot. It was hot the first game of the season, but that was a day game. This is a night game, so it won't be 95 degrees at night in Norman, but it'll be hot leading up to it, that's for sure.
One more to close out the segment. This is reasonable. Night game on the road in the SEC against the best defense Nico has seen. Tennessee 32-25.
Yeah, that's a good score. And yeah, Nico will have to play well. The CBS guys, I think it was Randy Cross was saying, Nico, he's in the SEC, and so he'll be able to handle the noise. We don't know that. This is the first time he's been on the road with this type of noise. You can't count NC State as an example of him handling the noise. Tennessee was more present there than NC State. We had a bigger presence, and NC State barely had a chance to cheer. I mean, they cheered a little bit, a couple first downs at the beginning of the game. They cheered the most when their dog picked up the kickoff tee. That was the most they cheered. And so Nico has not experienced a rowdy crowd just yet, but he would on Saturday. But I do think he'll handle it well. But we don't know. We don't know based on experience because this is his first time.
Right. Steve in Jeff County, Tennessee 54-7. We'll come back. We're halfway through the week. Still a long way to go. 865-656-9900 to call or text in on Josh and Swain.
Longtime NBA insider
Ainge hit him with a bullet, and he ran over him. What a big throw by Ainge. A great throw to Smith for one touchdown, and now another one to Jason Swain.
Swain, do you know when that happened, that play we just heard right there with Bob Kessling and Tim Priest on the Vol Network?
Bob Kessling was lit, wasn't he? He was crunk.
He was.
Tim Priest, yeah, man. They were juiced up.
That's what happens when wide receivers just run over DBs, as they described right there. That was 20 years ago today. You got in the end zone, as far as I'm aware of. I looked up the box score, said you got in. Somebody tweeted me today. His name is Ben. You might know him. And he said Swain didn't get into the end zone, that you were short of the goal line. So I don't know if you happen to talk to a Ben anytime soon, you might want to correct him there because the box score says otherwise. That was 20 years ago today. Swain is he's an answer to a trivia question. If you ask me, who scored the touchdown that cut the lead against Florida to 28-27 before James Wilhoit missed the extra point that would have tied it and then later came back and hit a field goal to win it in the final minute, 30-28. That was 20 years ago today, Swain, that big win at Neyland Stadium against the Gators happened.
All I remember is catching that ball and making the first guy miss and then making the second guy miss. And I was like, oh, my goodness, I don't think I should be over here. Like, I think I should be wider. Like, there's linemen coming. There's defensive linemen coming. I'm running into pursuit. This is not a good idea. And if somehow, some way, found myself in the end zone. But I remember the formation. I remember the route. I remember us putting that in that week, and it worked. And kudos to Randy Sanders for the play design. It was a good one, and that was the loudest I've ever experienced Neyland Stadium. It was 108,000 people there. That is the record today. That record will not be broken unless Danny White plans to build upon Neyland Stadium. But man, that was a great game. Really cool memory.
Yeah, a few people I saw share on Twitter today on social media that they were in the building that night. A lot of people were, as you just noted, and they thought that it was going to fall. They thought something was going to go wrong because it was shaking. Yep. It was so loud, the loudest they've ever heard. And there have been some loud moments, but that is absolutely right up there. And for many, it's number one, as you just mentioned.
Yeah, I was in that game in 2004. I was at the OU game, and Florida 04 was louder than OU to me. So, especially when Will Hoyt kicked that field goal. I mean, it went crazy in there. So, I did not expect that touchdown call, Josh. You surprised me on that one, but it was good to hear Kessler and Priest show your boy some love there.
Yep. 20 years ago today, big touchdown by Jason Swain against Florida, big win for the Vols against the Gators, and they're looking to get another one here in a few weeks. Typically, this is about the time we're talking about Florida, but Florida's in October this year. It's still a big week. It's Oklahoma week, but the anniversary of one of the all-time redemption moments that Tennessee has had, the kick from James Wilhoit, needed maybe a little help. Your guy, Jonathan Wade, was the victim of a hit from Dallas Baker.
That's right.
And
victim.
Appropriately flagged.
Victim is right, Josh. Yeah, he was a victim of dirty play and unsportsmanlike conduct from Dallas Baker, who has turned it around. Yeah. He doesn't do dirty things like that and vicious, unsportsmanlike things like that anymore. He's now the receiver coach at Baylor. Man, he's a good friend, awesome ambassador for the game of college football. But on that night, he ought to be ashamed of himself.
Yep. As far as I can tell, looking back at it and watching that replay, Dallas was the only one that was unsportsmanlike in that play.
That's how I remember it.
865-656-9900. If you would like to be a part of the show, Jason Swain is here, VFL, former Tennessee wide receiver. I'm Josh Ward, and Jarrett joins us now. Hey, Jarrett, good afternoon. Thanks for hanging on. What's on your mind today?
Hey, what's up, guys? How are y'all?
What's up?
Y'all doing all right?
Awesome, man. How are you?
Good. So I just want to talk about, everybody's been talking about how Nico doesn't have the experience in this, and which he doesn't. But I fully believe that this is his coming out party. against Oklahoma this week. And the reason being is because the maturity that Nico shows and how, like in the NC State post-game interview, he was talking about the opportunities that he left out on the field. And you just don't see that with guys of his stature, I guess you could say, being a five-star recruit, kind of with the accolades that he's got. Some of those guys are kind of cocky and arrogant, but he just seems to want to grow. And I believe that this week, all that's going to pay off for him. And he's going to go to Norman, Oklahoma, and he's going to show everybody what all the hype about Nico Iamaleava is all about.
You know what's pretty cool here? Like if you look at Nico's demeanor since, he's been a starting quarterback, and then you look at all the comments and the videos and things that people have said about Josh Heupel during his playing days at OU, there's a lot of similarities in the personalities of Nico Iamaleava and Josh Heupel. Like, they are very, very similar. Cool, but confident, and stone cold killers, man.
Hey, Jared, we appreciate the call. Thanks a lot. Absolutely. We'll see. He'll be tested. Going to Norman, I think we recognize, I hope everyone recognizes, not an easy place to go. But the belief Jared has in the maturity of Nico, I think you're right that there are probably some comparisons there. Personality might not exactly be the same, but even Josh Heupel said at the same age, Nico has more maturity to him, paraphrasing a little bit. But there are probably some comparisons, and Nico seems like the perfect fit with his mindset, the way he carries himself, the way he approaches, and his physical skill set to run Josh Heupel's offense.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, the crowd noise could play a role. Tennessee goes so fast. I mean, is he going to force a delay a game? I mean, I don't see how that's going to happen, but it could force some issues with communication on the line of scrimmage. It can force some issues for sure in terms of like concentration. Because sometimes you go on the road and it's you can't even hear yourself think sometimes. It's so loud. So if you're Tennessee, you got to make sure that Oklahoma just doesn't have a reason to get that loud. You got to come out. You got to make plays fast. You got to take the crowd out of the game as soon as possible.
Swain, a couple of messages. Justin says, I was there in 2004 in the win against Florida. Jason may remember me. I was the guy yelling, "Go Big Orange."
Oh,
remember?
Yeah. I remember him. Mm-hmm.
And then a text from our guy, Nick Trell. 20 years. We're old, brother. Good to hear from Nick.
My man, Nick. Love you, man.
Yeah, he would have been on the sideline in that game, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Nick probably had that towel like Trooper waving it around.
20 years. Now you're
okay, Josh.
40-year-old former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain.
Yeah, you said 20 years 20 times, okay?
People can add up on their own. I get it. Yep, I apologize.
Okay.
By the way, we're from the same class, so I'm throwing myself in the same conversation. We'll come back. We're on to OU in the conversation. 865-656-9900 if you would like to join us. Big week in college football as we continue on Josh and Swain. Back on Josh and Swain. Thank you for being with us. You ready for this one, Swain?
What you got?
In the text box, Dirty South Vol says, on Saturday, September 21st, Joshua Kenneth Heupel will travel to Norman and whip the Boomer Sooners 61-20. Mark it down.
No, I'm not marking that down. I'm not marking that down. 61-20?
61-20.
No, I don't see that one. I'll eat crow if I'm wrong, but I don't see that one. I mean, they do have athletes over there on Oklahoma side.
Yeah, and a pretty good, I think, defensive coach helping lead the way. So 61-20. Now, we did get a text saying going to be some weird bounces. Both teams will score on defense on Saturday.
Okay, all right. Okay. I mean, Tennessee's offense, we haven't really necessarily clicked on all cylinders in the passing game. I mean, we got some room. We got to win versus man-to-man a little bit better. We got to make better decisions throwing it. I mean, Nico's has been really good. I love watching him play the quarterback position. He took too many chances last week. We saw him take a chance, and it was an interception against NC State. Took a couple other chances that, were close calls too. He can't make those same mistakes this Saturday. I mean, 2 throws could put OU in a position where they can have something to say at the end of the game. So we got to be smart. This game, hinges on Nico just taking care of the football, taking what the defense gives him. He doesn't have to win the game for Tennessee to win. There were times 2 years ago when Hendon had to win the game for us, at home versus Florida, at home versus Alabama. I mean, you needed a hero performance from Hendon and Jalen Hyatt to beat Alabama. You don't need a hero performance from Nico to beat Oklahoma. So he has to just make sure that he plays within himself, take care of the football, and do what he's coached to do and do what he's capable of doing. That is making plays and being a playmaker when that moment comes. But if the moment's not there, check it down, throw the balls out of bounds, slide, play within himself. He can do that. Tennessee's going to win by more than 7 points, I think.
Yeah, take care of the ball, take care of the quarterback. Incompletions are not the end of the world in this kind of game. Yeah, if you have to give them the ball via punting, which Jackson Ross hasn't done much of this season, but if you have to punt the ball to him, you can get it back with Tennessee's defense.
No, absolutely. Tennessee is strong in the special teams game. Now, I know Jackson Ross, he hasn't had much experience the last couple of weeks. I mean, he looked bored. Honestly, I thought about asking Josh Heupel at halftime versus Kent State, what is Jackson Ross supposed to do during the game? But he's not much of a jokester during the game. It don't matter if you're up 65-0 or not. So I just didn't bother with it. But Jackson Ross looked really bored against Kent State. He won't be bored on Saturday. And punting can be a good thing. It can be a really, really good thing, especially when you play an offense like OU that has struggled.
Should Jackson be a little offended that he didn't get a snap at quarterback on Saturday?
Yeah, everybody else did.
Yeah. I would have let him run a couple of plays.
Yeah, everybody else got a chance to play except for Jackson Ross. He's on scholarship. How about that?
Just hanging out.
Just chilling, hanging out. He was
kicking it on the sideline.
He was practicing with Dustin Colquitt a little bit. It wasn't a real punt, but he was doing some warm-up drills with Dustin Colquitt throughout the game.
Swain, we had another question Tammy asked in the text box, and we've seen this come in a couple times during the week, about the Tennessee player that was ejected for targeting. His status, that was Jacoby Thomas. It was in the first half of the game on Saturday against Kent State. So he's good to go for this game. If he had been ejected in the second half, he'd be looking at missing the first half in this upcoming game. But he was ejected in the first half, missed the rest of the game. He was just about done, as you've pointed out, I think, on the show this week, because the starters weren't going to be in much longer after that. And I guess he's a reserve, but plays a lot of snaps. Yep. So Jacoby Thomas, he's good to go this upcoming Saturday.
Yeah, in real time, I thought it was the correct call. After the replay, It just confirmed what I thought originally. It was good to hear Andre Turntime, who I think is awesome, in front of a microphone. We had a chance to talk to him a couple months ago on a remote. He is special, but he even admitted, hey, you got to see what you hit, and that's to protect yourself along with protecting your team by being able to stay out there and play. And his eyes were down, his head was down. It was targeting. It's a good learning lesson. I mean, we talked about making mistakes in games versus Kent State and NC State and UTC when you beat up on the opponent and you blow out the other team. You make those mistakes so that way you learn from them and you don't make those mistakes in closer games that could cost you the game itself.
It's a big game coming up on Saturday, Tennessee at Oklahoma. We'll talk about that. The storylines heading into this game. We continue to invite you to be a part of the show. 865-656-9900 if you would like to join us. Austin Price of AllQuest will join us in 35 minutes. We'll talk to Austin at 1:30. We'll talk to Braden Gall. He gets a little fearful sometimes. We'll see what he thinks about this Tennessee OU game coming up on Saturday. The Vols' big road test on Saturday night. We have 2 hours to go on the Sports Animal and the Sports Monster in the Tri-Cities area right here on Hour number 2 begins right here on Josh and Swain. Thanks for being with us. 1 hour down, 2 to go with VFL and former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain. I'm Josh Ward with Austin Price set to join us coming up at 1:30. So we'll see what Austin thinks about this game, matchups he'll be paying attention to, maybe a little recruiting as well. Huge week. Tennessee welcoming Oklahoma to the SEC. And Swain, a big part of the storyline is Josh Heupel going to Norman, Oklahoma. Our friend Chris Lowe, who will join us tomorrow, he does every week thanks to Dead End Barbecue, wrote a story alongside Jake Trotter, who has spent many years covering Oklahoma, on Josh Heupel's return to Norman, the impact he made on the program, both as a player and coach. There are quarterbacks that are quoted in the story. Sam Bradford had, I thought, as strong of an endorsement as you're going to hear for Josh Heupel as a coach, both what he can do on the field and maybe talent evaluation, all of that. Sam Bradford, who won a Heisman Trophy, was a top pick in the NFL draft by the Rams, said that Josh Heupel was, quote, the single greatest influence in my football career. He believed in me before I believed in myself. He saw something in me that I hadn't quite seen in myself, and he figured out a way to bring it out of me. That was Sam Bradford to ESPN talking about Josh Heupel.
I mean, between Heupel and Lincoln Riley, who's out here developing quarterbacks like those two guys in college football?
I mean, it's going to be difficult to find somebody with a better track record at this point, especially over that span of time.
Yeah, I mean, both guys are tearing it up. And I know Lincoln had a couple Heisman Trophy winners, and Josh Heupel had Sam Bradford, who went on to win the Heisman Trophy himself, and Heupel. There's a connection to Jordan Love when he was at Utah State. I mean, I can't think of anybody else who's in the same conversation when it comes to developing quarterbacks in college football. And that's why you got Nico. That's why you got other players coming in at the quarterback position, top players, George McIntyre, Faison, Brandon coming in. And that's not going to be the end of it. I mean, there's going to be more top-rated quarterbacks that's going to line up because Heupel is one of the best quarterback coaches in the country.
Yeah, he is right up there. And at this point, again, it's a long list of quarterbacks, guys that have competed at the highest level, both with their team success and individual accolades. Like Bradford, he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's giving that kind of credit to Josh Heupel. So you can't say, well, how much credit does Heupel get? Bradford himself said that Heupel gets as much credit as anybody. I think Steve Sarkisian, I think Lane are in a conversation of the best offensive and quarterback coaches out there, but I wouldn't say Heupel takes a back seat in this conversation at all.
No, not at all. You know what it makes me think about, and I know there's been a lot of talk about the tickets and the increase and Danny White's video, and people have their opinions, good or bad on that, but it makes me think about when Danny White hired Josh Heupel, and people wanted to know who were the other candidates. Who did you talk to? Who did you offer the job to? And I remember Danny White saying, I got someone who I thought was the right man for the job. And damn, he nailed it. He nailed it. When you think about Knoxville, this university, this community, what type of guy Heupel is, man, it pairs well with the Tennessee fan base. What a match, man! He really got the best guy who he thought was right for the job, and man, it's been awesome to kind of see this program grow and develop, and the confidence. And this is something that Miles Kitselman talked to me about on Sunday. The confidence that he has in you. Think about what Sam Bradford said. This is the same thing that Miles Kitselman said to me in person on Sunday. It's the confidence that he has in you. He sees something in you and makes you believe that you can do anything on the football field. And that's the mark of a great coach. And that's what Heupel was doing a decade ago. He's still doing it today. And that's why these players are playing well. Here's another thing. Remember when Josh Heupel talked about, and this was a couple years ago, he said, we're going to play elite defense. We're going to play elite defense in Tennessee. And I don't know about your reaction, but my reaction was like, okay, I believe that when I see it because the program was so offensive centric. It was leaning towards the offense. All the eggs were put into the offensive basket. Hey, man, Heupel called his shot because he's right. He is right in year number 4. He called his shot just like he called his shot when he was a player. And he said that his OU team that just came off 7-5 season was going to go to the Orange Bowl and win that championship. He called it then, and he called it now. Tennessee's defense is elite at this point of the season. They have a chance to be elite all season long.
Yeah, in the ESPN story, they referenced Josh Heupel's confidence that he showed to his team. So he had called his shot, telling reporters, "Hey, we're going to go to the Orange Bowl. We're going to go play for a national title." The ESPN story included an account before the start of that 2000 season. So OU was not expected to do too much. They were preseason number 20, I think, top 20 team. So they were thought to be pretty good. And he spoke to the team the night before their first preseason practice, according to ESPN story Chris Lowe and Jake Trotter wrote. And he addressed the team and told them they needed to aim higher than being the 20th best team in the country. Jason White, who would go on to do big things at Oklahoma as well, he was a redshirt freshman that year, said, quote, "I wish somebody had recorded the speech. To this day, it's the best speech I've ever heard. His whole point was, why not us? He kept saying it. Why can't we win the Big 12? Why can't we win a national championship?" And Cale Gundy, who was a part of that staff, he's going to join us tomorrow, by the way, works with the Sports Animal in Oklahoma City now. He stood in the back of the room with Steve Spurrier Jr., and when Heupel uttered national championship, they looked at each other in disbelief. Josh Heupel believed before maybe some others who were leading the program believed that they could do it. He saw it before others could, and it ultimately happened. So he saw elite defense for Tennessee before you and I probably saw it, or a lot of people probably saw it. I never doubted that he wanted to play really good defense, but to get to this level, what we're talking about this season with UT, I did not anticipate this, at least this quickly.
No, man, I haven't. I haven't at all. So I mean, that's why I have confidence at this point of the season when I'm saying Tennessee is going to beat Oklahoma. And listen, they may not, but I'm explaining to you why I have the confidence. I have the confidence because I see how these players have been affected by Josh Heupel's confidence. Like, I see the look in their eyes. I see it. I see how they're performing. And they take on the personality of their head coach. So you have a head coach that, and I thought the CBS guys said it, he doesn't mind putting his foot in your throat. And that onside kick versus Kent State lets you know. Like, we're playing ball. And if you give us a look, we're going to take it. We're going to take what the defense gives us. We're going to take what the special teams unit gives us. We're going to take what the offense gives us, whatever. Like, we're here to play ball. That's what we're here to do. And we're not going to slow up. We're not going to ease up. We're not going to relax. We are in attack mode 2-4-7 365. His team takes on that same personality.
Last August, it was at the Hoops for Hope event that Tennessee basketball takes part in every year. Rick Barnes came on with us, and he was talking about Josh Heupel and what he had done with Tennessee football. He said this. This is a quote from Rick Barnes. "Danny White hiring Josh Heupel might be one of the greatest hires of anything in the last 20 years. What he's done in 2 years at the time, and the way our athletic department has turned around with what we were dealing with in 2 years is remarkable. Maybe the best hire of anybody in 20 years is what Rick Barnes said." That was before Tennessee got to this point of the conversation we're talking about today.
Dang. A lot of people calling their shots, only to be proven right in the future. Yeah, I mean, whew. But all that stuff doesn't matter if we don't win. So
that's right.
Better win, or
the stakes have gone higher as Josh Heupel wants that.
Yep. I mean, it's more pressure on Heupel than it is Brent Venables. It's more pressure on Tennessee than it is OU. Everyone's picking Tennessee to win. Josh Heupel is entering his 4th season at Tennessee and in the SEC. Brent Venables, this is his first year in the SEC. They're the underdog, so Tennessee got to go win this thing. And I like the fact that our players, whether they are saying it publicly or not, like, it's not about Josh Heupel playing against his old school. At the end of the day, it's about Tennessee. You play for that T, you represent that T, you win for Tennessee. And so That's what it's about, and I love that message. It's bigger than you, and when you understand that as a player, that it's bigger than you, you're not going to play selfish. You're going to leave it out there on the line. You're going to do not what you want to do, but what's necessary. And sometimes what's necessary is putting your body on the line to make a play for your brother and the team you play for, and the entire fan base, and the entire state, and all Tennessee fans across the world. So this team, this program understands that it's bigger than them. It's bigger than any individual person, all the way up to the head coach.
It is a big week. Tennessee at Oklahoma on Saturday. We'll continue the show and invite you to be a part of it at 865-656-9900. Austin Price of VolQuest in a little less than 20 minutes. We're here until 3. We'll continue on Josh and Swain. Great Wednesday afternoon. Our phone number to join the show is 865-656-9900. Tennessee at Oklahoma on Saturday night, 7:30 kickoff. ABC with the national coverage. We'll have all network coverage. We'll have game day all day leading up to the start of the game. And right now we get to say hello to Ken to get a score prediction for Saturday night. Your chance to score a Ford from Ted Russell Ford. Ken, thank you for calling. Do you have a score prediction for Tennessee, Oklahoma this weekend?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I do. Tennessee 38, and on a meaningless touchdown at the end of the game, Oklahoma 24.
38-24. So a late meaningless touchdown to make it somewhat respectable. You have the Vols cruising this Saturday night. Sounds like you're confident.
I think so. Let's go do it.
Gotcha, Ken. We have your score recorded. We appreciate you calling in, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. Ken says Tennessee wins 38-24 over Oklahoma on Saturday. We will continue to take score predictions the rest of the afternoon, tomorrow, and then Friday we will draw one of those predictions. That will be the one to pay attention to Saturday night. If that score that we draw hits exactly right, the person that predicts it will be able to go spend up to $75,000 on a brand new Ford from Ted Russell Ford on Parkside Drive and on Kingston Pike. Your chance this week and all season long to score a Ford from Ted Russell Ford. So Swain, Ken says 38-24, and the 24th point comes on a late, meaningless touchdown by the Sooners.
I like that score. I do. That was my score versus NC State. But I do like that score.
We've had multiple predictions today saying no touchdowns from OU. You and I both believe that Oklahoma does score an offensive touchdown this week, which is, by the way, an incredible conversation just to have.
Yeah, entering week 4 without allowing a touchdown. I mean, I do think Jackson Arnold is dangerous with his legs. He is more than capable as a passer, but the injuries with the offensive line, injuries with receivers, he's had to throw different guys. He has not seen the field all that great. But that was the first 3 weeks. Saturday can be different. Tennessee just has to make sure that, it's not different. And the same Jackson Arnold we've seen on film is the same one that we see on Saturday. And they expose him and make him look even worse.
Yeah, Arnold leads Oklahoma in rushing with 159 yards for the season. Swain, in 3 games, Oklahoma has 477 yards. Tennessee had 456 against Kent State this past weekend. Recognize that it's Kent State.
It's just dangerous, man, to have your running back exposed like that. And I've said the same thing about Nico, especially after last game. I thought he took too many hits, but for OU to have to rely on Jackson Arnold to run the football, a little different than what Tennessee has to do with their quarterback. That's dangerous, man, because one hit, one fall on your shoulder, that's a broken collarbone, that's a separated shoulder. And it's one thing if it's on the non-throwing arm, but if it's on the throwing arm, forget about it. Your day is over, whoever is injured. So that's just a really tough position to put your offense in and have your quarterback have to run that much for the offense to be successful.
We were asked in the text box about defensive matchups from Oklahoma, thoughts on the Sooners on that side of the football. So they have a linebacker in Danny Stutzman, who is one of the best at his position in the country. Billy Bowman, one of the best safeties in the country. Defensive line is a solid group. One of them is DeJoun Terry, a former Tennessee D lineman who transferred to OU. They got some transfer help. They're talented. They have some good players on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sure that they will try to pressure in different ways. I'm sure they will try to win matchups against Tennessee's offensive tackles. Let's see how Lance Hurd plays on the left side. He set out this past week, but is back to start at left tackle. But what would you say stands out about what Oklahoma either might try to do or a matchup that you're interested in with Tennessee's offense against Oklahoma's defense this week?
Well, we're talking about our matchup against NC State and how NC State's defense coordinator kind of switched all their calls to one-word answers, one-word calls to help their guys get lined up. And they felt like they prepared for the tempo by lining up the first team versus the defense and then immediately lining up the second team. Or it could be the second team / third team or the third team / scouting team with walk-ons. And there's no way to really duplicate the speed and the talent level. Well, this week you're playing against a defense that is used to going up against tempo because OU runs tempo. I think that stands out. At least we saw a lot of tempo in the OU to Tulane game. So that's what stands out to me. I mean, OU should be more prepared for the tempo than our first three opponents, or really some of the opponents that we played last year in conference.
Yeah, Venables is going to have a plan. It's a matter of how effective the plan can be.
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to Jimmy's and Joe's, but the X's and O's of it is put in place to help the Jimmy's and Joe's be able to make plays in space. And so I was talking to someone yesterday. This is a Brew McCoy game, I think. A tough SEC defense. This game screams physical. You need some plays made on the outside. Brew hasn't scored a touchdown yet this season. Brew hasn't really – we haven't seen much of Brew since the first game of the season. The NC State game was more about the tight ends. Last game didn't need anybody to really do anything to beat Kent State. But I think this is a Brew game. I think about the last year Florida game and how Brew was competing his tail off until the end. He was fearless. He didn't back down. He was still making plays. I think Brew is going to be very, very important in this game. I also look at Chris Brazel as well, too. 50-50 balls. Plays being made even when you're covered. Those guys will have to make plays because I don't think we'll be able to just line up, run the football, and just go win this game. We got to make some plays on the outside. Ethan Davis, I see him as athletic as he is. This is a game that shows why he has a chance to be one of the best tight ends to ever play here at Tennessee. So I look for those three guys. And it's not just those three guys. Squirrel, we saw him make some big plays last year versus Alabama too on the road. But this is a big game. And to win big games, you got to have big performances by your best players.
He's Jason Swain. I'm Josh Ward. When we come back, Austin Price of VolQuest will join us to tell you what he thinks about Tennessee at Oklahoma on Saturday night, right here on Josh and Swain. We're back on Josh and Swain. Thanks for being with us. Halfway home, 90 minutes to go on today's show. VFL and former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain is here. I'm Josh Ward, and we go to the Stanley Fencing Gates hotline to say hello to Austin Price of VolQuest.com, covering Tennessee football and football recruiting. Austin, thank you for the time as always. This is a big one. The Vols getting ready to play Oklahoma in Norman on Saturday night. What stands out when you look at these two teams going up against each other, what you've seen from Tennessee with big expectations now, 3 weeks into the season?
Two teams that have, I would say not have played, great schedules. One team has, dismantled everybody that's been put in front of them, and the other one has kind of limped through a 3-0 start against inferior opponents that, shouldn't be on the field with them, but yet have been. So, can Oklahoma rise to the challenge? Can they kind of snap out of the funk, or are they who they've been on the field? It's that simple. Like, if they are who they've been on the field and Tennessee plays the way it's been playing, it's going to be hard for Oklahoma to keep pace with Tennessee. So, sometimes it's not as simple as that, but sometimes it can be that simple. So we'll find out, coming up on Saturday.
What's the biggest concern that you have for Tennessee going on the road, trying to pull out a win versus OU?
Well, I started looking at this individually. Like, I think we all talk about, the matchup and all that, but you start looking at, kind of spot by spot. And it certainly feels like Tennessee's got the advantage basically everywhere. So where does Oklahoma have the advantage? The fact that Nico's not started a road game. It's a night road game. And the crowd will obviously be heavily tilted to the Sooners. So I think, my worry for Tennessee would be the fact that, does the crowd influence the start of the football game enough to where you turn it over, fumble, interception, whatever, and give Oklahoma a short field? If you make Oklahoma drive at 75 and 80 yards, I don't think they can do that enough on Tennessee to win the football game. But if you give them short fields and let the crowd get into it more and more, then all of a sudden this game flips around. So I think the biggest thing is just, even if you don't on the first drive, if you don't go down and score, you've got to at least flip the field. Don't give them short fields, in this football game. I think that's the biggest thing. And then just, try to stay relatively penalty free. You've done a nice job of that through the first 3 games. Can you continue that on the road?
Austin Price is with us, VolQuest.com. What's the biggest advantage for Tennessee in this game?
Defensive line. I described this. I was taping a podcast with a couple of former Oklahoma players for an Oklahoma podcast, a few hours ago, and I kind of described it. I'm like, when you're going against Tennessee's defensive line, it's like being out in the ocean and that undertow starts pulling you out and the waves start crashing on you and you can't make any ground up to get back to the shore. Like, the wave crashes, undertow pulls you out, wave crash, and you just are struggling. That's how it is going against Tennessee's defensive line because, quite frankly, they just have such a plethora of depth that teams can't catch their breath. Like, they don't ever have that moment where you're like, okay, thank goodness, that kid's, out of the game. They just roll in another really good player and just keep trucking. So I guess, that's the thing for me is like, you have to, survive that.
What's the health update on some of our players, Cam Selding, other players that, these first 3 weeks got a chance to get some rest? John Campbell is one, Hurd is another. Give us kind of an update on the health of this football team.
I think it's pretty good. We'll see if Cam Seldon's cleared to go. I think he will be, but at this point, how do you not make Deshaun Bishop your number 2 tailback? I think Deshaun's earned it. He earned it in fall camp. He certainly earned it the first 3 weeks with how he's performed. And then, Lance Hurd didn't play last week, but I was told he could have played. It's just, precautionary thing. Like, he had a little bit of a low ankle type deal, and, they've just rehabbed it, and he's good to go for this weekend. And, I don't think Tennessee's got any other real big injuries. So I think Tennessee should be, about as healthy as one can be, a quarter of the way through the season.
Yeah, Austin, we've talked to you about Deshaun Bishop over the last several weeks, probably a few times during the offseason as well. It seems like he's earned or taken advantage of every opportunity that he's been able to get so far.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's done a fantastic job of just kind of being present. When all those other guys were in red jerseys, he wasn't. He was out there in practice, and he went through all the scrimmages. And, when you're always there, you get noticed. And, if you play well, then it's to your benefit. And so I think being present and just being available has earned him that chance to be the number 2 tailback behind Dylan Sampson. And, I mean, his performance on the field has been really, really good. So I'm not surprised the kid's got something about him. He's got an inner belief. He's always had an inner belief dating back to when he was at Carnes. And, I think he's a real asset, and what a find for Josh Heupel and company, just a local kid to be able to play the way he's been playing.
Yeah, also that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, you cover high school football in the area, and I was going to ask you about, do you think Deshaun Bishop has exceeded your expectations of what he was going to be at Tennessee, or is it about on par based on what he did at Carnes?
Well, I mean, his ability to make plays is on par with what, he did at Carnes. I mean, to be a redshirt freshman, to not have played last year due to the ankle injury, and to be sitting here, again, I get it. They played Chattanooga. They played Kent State, who's like, playing me and you and Josh, and then played NC State. But, he's done a nice job. He's done a nice job in pass pro. He's done a nice job, running the football, showed great vision, quickness, a nice burst, and incredible patience. And I think all those things travel. So that part of it, to be able to do it as quickly as he has, that's the biggest surprise for me. It's not his ability, because I thought, the kid had enough ability if he ever could get to the field that he'd be able to stick. I just wondered, would he get buried in the depth chart? But again, all those guys were present and available, and thus, he's been able to, be present and make plays.
Austin Price, VolQuest. So give the spoiler. What's going to happen on Saturday night?
I just think Tennessee's going to be too much. Unless they give them short fields and let Oklahoma's crowd get into the game, and that affects them, then I just don't see that being I think Tennessee's going to win this football game Saturday. I think they're the better team. I think they believe that they're the better team, and their focus for games like Kent State and Chattanooga, especially Kent State, when you were the prohibitive favorite by near 50 points, it just changed things dramatically. From my perception of just this team, their ability to handle the moment. I think they'll be uber focused for this game. I don't think they're hearing any of the Josh Heupel noise. I think they know it's there. I think they know what this would mean to Coach Heupel to get a win, and they'd like to go get it for him. But I think they're just kind of focused on themselves, knowing if they take care of themselves, they'll take care of Coach Heupel.
You think any of the pleasantries coming from OU and all, even if they do reception for him on the video board there, do you think that will affect his aggressiveness and his play calling style going back home for the first time?
No, I don't. I don't think it'll change anything. I think he'll wave to the crowd and then slide the knife inside, and then from behind. I don't think, I don't think that will affect him at all. I think he can compartmentalize it. I think he has a great fondness for Oklahoma, especially for some of the people there. It's just like when Peyton Manning comes back. Peyton Manning loves the people like, Carmen Tagano and Hawk, which is Alan Sitzler, and Max and Frage and everybody, so it just, I just don't think I don't think he gets caught up in the whole football side of things.
Austin Price, VolQuest.com. Before you go, is there anything recruiting-wise for fans to know about this week, with the game, of course, being the main focus? Anything out there on the recruiting trail to pay attention to?
No, not really. I just think that, until some of these kids that are committed elsewhere end up on visits, or kids that are committed to Tennessee end up on visits, I think it's hard to take anything super serious. So a lot of chatter out there one way or the other, but until, visits happen, I look at it as, a moot point at this point. I think it's I just think it's a lot of noise out there in recruiting. For it to be real, Tennessee's got to get some of these kids to campus, or other schools have to get Tennessee's commits to campus.
Austin Price, volquest.com. If you are headed to Norman for the game, wave and say hi when you see Austin there. Before, during, or after kickoff with Tennessee. Late game Saturday night in Norman against Oklahoma to open up SEC play. Safe travels, Austin. We appreciate the time as always, and we'll look for your coverage there at volquest.com. Thank you as always.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Austin Price joining us on the Stanley Fencing and Gates Hotline.
They're trying to butter him up, Josh. You know what they're trying to do, man.
You think so?
I ain't falling for it, and I hope Josh Heupel don't fall for it. They're trying to butter him up.
Venables?
Huh?
You hear Brent Venables talking up the O-line?
Yeah, man. That's enough. That's enough pleasantries. I feel like I'm more mad for Josh Heupel that they fired him than Josh Heupel is. And I'm sure he's somewhat over it. Maybe not entirely, but I'm more fired up about it.
I think he'll have plenty of fire when that game kicks off on Saturday. I'm not. We can do a list of concerns. That one's not making the list.
No, I had to ask AP about that because AP's around Heupel. He gets a chance to spend time with him and stuff, and so I'm sure that this matchup has come up in conversation before, and want to get AP to comment on it.
Yep, for sure. Josh Heupel heading back to Norman, Oklahoma, Tennessee in a big game coming up Saturday night. We'll come back and invite you to be a part of the show, 865-656-9900 to join us on Josh and Swain. 101.1 The Sports Animal and AM 640 The Sports Monster in the Tri-Cities every day, every weekday, 12 until 3. If you're streaming out there, we appreciate you hanging out. 865-656-9900 if you would like to join us. Josh, great name in Knoxville, asks, do you think helmet communication will help our offense on the road? This will be the first true road game using the helmet communication, which, of course, they've had access to for 3 games now.
I'm sure it'll help more than it has in any other game we've played. I don't see it being the biggest of deals just because we go so fast. But, yeah, like little reminders here and there in a road environment help you, I think, even more so than at home. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it will. It probably helps some in the NC State game, right? They've had some opportunity to use it. I guess when we have this conversation, it can go both ways. So is it an advantage? If it is, I think it's because you just trust Josh Heupel so much as an offensive coach.
I just think the helmet communication is, honestly, I think it's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
When you compare it to the ability to review the previous play on the sideline, like that's the bigger deal to me.
I agree.
That's a huge deal, y'all. Like it's one thing to call up to the offense coordinator or call up to a coach that's sitting upstairs and you telling him, hey man, I got this, I see this corner squatting or the safety is peeking and we can do this. But when you can sit down as a group and you can push a button and show the entire group, hey, this is what they did on the possession before. This is what we can do next possession. Dude, I mean, that takes it to another level. So, yeah, there's been talk about in-helmet communication, but it's not a bigger deal than the technology on the sideline. That's the bigger deal.
Yeah, big picture over 4 quarters. What's happening on the sideline is a bigger deal than one individual play where they can still adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Without the in-helmet communication. Before we close out this hour, Swain, this is what you didn't want to hear. This was Oklahoma coach Brent Venables yesterday. He spoke to the media for like 40-plus minutes with his game week press conference talking about Tennessee's offensive line.
And I really have a tremendous amount of respect for how they play up front. They are really aggressive. Cooper Mays, their center, somebody I know their family, and Cade Mays, his older brother, played at both Georgia and I believe at Tennessee as well. And man, he plays with an edge. He just plays the position. Their whole offensive line, when they get down on their stance, man, they're getting down with authority, and they're sending a message, and they're incredibly physical. This will be. And then again, every SEC, you're going to hear me say it. I just watched the tape. They play a physical brand of football, and I just have a lot of appreciation, respect for what that looks like. And one of the best offensive lines I've seen in a while. And having faced several SEC teams through the years, this is one of those offensive lines, in my opinion.
That's Brent Venables, Oklahoma head coach. He was Clemson's defense coordinator when they're competing for and winning national championships. He went up against the Alabama offensive line. He went up against those big-time O-lines that Tennessee had to deal with, and he said Tennessee's O-line is in that class, Jason Swain.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is this attitude? What is this? You can't take a compliment?
No. Nope. No, sir. I know what they're trying to do, man. They're trying to butter us up. It's what Tommy West did at Memphis when we went up against Memphis. He said, Meacham and Swain and Brett Smith, they're the best trio of receivers I've ever seen. Really? Really, Tommy? Huh?
Was he wrong?
Yeah. There's been better trios than us three. He was wrong. Absolutely he was wrong. He was trying to butter us up. It didn't work. We still torched him. But I know he's trying to do. I know his kind. I know Brent Venables' kind. They're not slick. It ain't gonna work.
If Cole said this, you'd be applauding and saying, "Yeah, tell him, Cole."
Is Cole the head coach of OU?
He is not.
Okay. All right. Look, I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong. It's factual. to this point. I do think the offensive line could have played a little bit better in the first 3 games, but you do have some guys beat up and banged up. I think we need to protect Nico a little bit better, but, like, he's not wrong. I'm not accusing him of being wrong. I'm just saying he ain't slick. He's not slick. Try and butter us up, Josh.
I don't think you're wrong either. We'll come back. Braden Gall, is he afraid? The UT alum with the big game. The Vols on the road this Saturday. We'll ask him when we come back on Josh and Swain. VFL and former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain is here. I'm Josh Ward, and a fearful Braden Gall is here. I'm not sure. We had a chance to talk before the segment began just a moment ago. Braden Gall, 440 Sports, over in the Midstate, UT alum. A few days before Tennessee baseball won a national championship. Braden, you wouldn't allow us to talk about. We were talking about you coming to town for Florida. Like Florida, they might cancel the season before the game on October 12th, and you're still afraid to talk about that one. Now Tennessee gets ready for a big road game in Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday. So I asked Swain confidence level on a 1 to 10 range, and he's always in a 8, 9, 10 spot. What's your nervous scale, 1 to 10? 10 being the most nervous for Tennessee in this big matchup with the playoff and national title early season implications.
Is it weird to say I'm more nervous about the Florida game than I am the Oklahoma game? Because you could just write the script, right? Like Billy Napier fired on a Monday, backup quarterback gets the nod, DJ Lagway into the starting lineup, interim coach rallies the troops, they play well.
And backup quarterback, Swain. There is the fear for all the Tennessee fans right there.
No. The Oklahoma matchup is fascinating, and because I mean honestly, the truth of the matter is, I think they're good in similar spots, other than the offensive line where Tennessee has a large advantage, but Tennessee's just better. Like Oklahoma's defensive line's pretty good. Tennessee's is better. Oklahoma's young star quarterback is pretty good. Tennessee's is a little bit better. The offensive system for Tennessee has a much higher floor. It is more consistent, and I think it's better. The offensive line, Oklahoma is way worse along the offensive line. They still look like a team that's trying to replace all 5 starters and their coordinator. And so I think Tennessee's just a better football team across the board. College football happens, though, and weird, funny stuff happens. And Oklahoma's a very proud program, and we've seen these two programs play great football games in the past. Tennessee's the better team, and on paper, Tennessee should win the game. And so from an analyst standpoint, objectively, it's hard to make the case for Oklahoma. And I think when you add to it the off the field stuff, I think it cuts 2 different directions, but I don't know about you guys. The fact that it's Oklahoma's first SEC football game means nothing to Tennessee, in my opinion. It probably means a lot to them. But on the other side, the fact that this is Josh Heupel returning to his alma mater after getting fired and won a national championship there, like all of that to me matters to the guy who plays for that guy, Tennessee's players. I don't know how much that would matter to an Oklahoma player. I don't know if that registers for them. Like, get fired up, and I need you to give it extra energy and extra focus this week because the other coach played here 25 years ago. Like, I just don't think that registers for a bunch of kids on the Oklahoma roster, whereas there's a personal relationship for these players who I've talked to personally and said, like, hey, what makes this special? He's like, well, we have a great relationship with our head coach. Wouldn't that mean that that would help them more than it could ever possibly hurt them with Oklahoma? So I think the off the field stuff is not really a factor in all this. And then when you start to look at it just on paper, on the field, Tennessee's better at almost every position. So I think it should be a great football game, not a huge weekend of action. And a lot of eyes are going to be watching Tennessee with all the hype they're starting already to get.
Yeah, that's where I am, Braden. You watch OU play, you watch Tennessee play, and yeah, you look at the quality opponent, but the matchup is just so terrible for OU, where Tennessee is at their strongest, OU is at their weakest. And I don't know how you're going to compete in the SEC when you are on your backup center, and then you're moving around guards that are normally not playing tackle, but they have to play tackle because of injury. It just doesn't sound like a good recipe going up against arguably the best defensive line in the country.
No, I completely agree. I imagine Jackson Arnold has not gotten a lot of sleep this week because while I think that on the other side of the ball, you could make the case for Oklahoma, Brent Venables, very savvy defensive coach, to come up with some creative schemes to attack Nico and create some rush decisions and maybe some turnovers. Like, you can make the case for that being the recipe for Oklahoma on that side of the ball. Can they stand up and hold their ground against a good running attack? Maybe. And again, Venables is very good. So, like, you could argue that. On the other, like, there's no argument on the other side. Like, you can't, unless Jackson Arnold does something superhuman outside of the confines of the offense, outside of the pocket, and is just Johnny Manziel, I don't know how the offense scores a lot of points. They didn't score a lot of points against Houston. They weren't all that great against Temple, and they, had their issues with Tulane. So it's hard to make the case. And so if that is if feeling like that is what makes you nervous, I understand that. As someone who gets nervous all the time, I totally understand. If you go into a game fully confident that that's where you're nervous, I get it. But on paper, there's not a real reason to pick Oklahoma to win this game. Again, home field advantage maybe. Maybe the defense makes plays. I don't know how they protect their quarterback.
Braden Gall is with us, 440 Sports. Maybe I should just save this question for next week. But if Tennessee wins this Saturday at Oklahoma and is 4-0 and has gotten through one of the big hurdles when you look at the schedule, especially at the start of the preseason, but I would update it now, what would it take for Tennessee to not make the playoff at that point if they're 4-0 and they have a win at Norman?
I mean, should we go back to the Florida game? No, I mean, you have to lose to Bama, you lose to Georgia. That's not difficult to see. I mean, Bama looks pretty salty, and Georgia, despite their performance last weekend, is still going to be extremely good. It's the third loss. That's all it is. And college football happens. College football is a great game. Crazy things happen. There'll be a heavy favorite in every game outside of those two, probably. But crazy things happen, and young kids make mistakes, and it just is what it is on a football field sometimes. So, look, I'm probably one of the few people I'd like to think that had Tennessee making the playoff before the season started. So this is not ultimately a huge surprise to see them doing what they're doing so far. But really, it gets validated this weekend. You go into Norman and you show people what you are, and you win that game. It doesn't have to be the same way you beat NC State, but I could see it being a 2-score type of game. Easy cover for the point spread. If you do that, you've kind of baked in. Again, you handle your business in the other teams, you could lose a couple of games and still make the playoff. I think 10-2 will be good enough to get in. So you can start to really think about the big picture stuff. And it's hard to, like, I'm not allowing myself to do this for any team, and that is think through matchups in the postseason, right? And think through which teams could actually win 4 games, which is very hard to do in the tournament. But if you're asking me to construct them, strengths and weaknesses, I'd start with offensive, defensive lines, quarterback, and head coach. That's where I'm starting every football team conversation with. And if you're putting those 4 up against any other team in the country, you can make the case Tennessee's 3, 4, 5 in America and has a chance to be better than that by the end of the year. And that means they could win some games in the tournament if they can get there.
What do you think Florida is waiting on to fire Bill Napier? If the decision is already made, then why not move forward with let him go and getting an interim in there? What's the holdup?
I mean, sometimes it just takes time for these things to sort of matriculate behind the scenes. Like, you have to get all the money organized. You have to get all the boosters lined up. You got to get as I always say this, like, college football coaches at this level, they are not hired or fired. They are elected by a collection of people that have a lot of money. And that's ultimately what you're doing is you have to organize all that stuff. Also, and I haven't looked at the language in the buyout, but $26 million, I think today, it goes down at some point. And if it goes down after, like, Sam Pittman's buyout, for example, goes way down if he has an under 500 overall record, and he loses a couple more games, his record falls underneath 500. All of a sudden, his buyout goes from 23 to 12 million. Well, that's when you can make a move. So I don't know all the specifics of Napier's contract, but I would guess it takes a little bit of time. There's a couple of winnable games here for them, and you got to figure out what your plan is for the rest of the season. That's basically all there is to it. I mean, I was pretty dead wrong about the Florida Gators. I thought this would be his best team, and it doesn't feel like losing A&M and Miami is one thing. It's how it's happened that's very concerning, and to be completely uncompetitive in those games at home, that's not acceptable.
Would you consider the Tennessee game on Florida's schedule as a winnable game?
I mean, in theory, yes. It'll be 2 teams playing a game on the same field, and that's possible. If I'm a Tennessee alumni answering that question, the answer is hell yeah, they can win that game. If I am answering it as an analyst, I would say Tennessee should be a 16 or 17 point favorite. I mean, 18-point favorite. It should be a pretty big number when they come to town in a few weeks. So,
no, Braden, today is the 20-year anniversary of Will Hoyt's kick to win it, the 50-yarder, 30-28. But stick your chest out today in the Tennessee versus Florida matchup.
I'm going to throw a flag on a mythical, what is it, roughing? What was the penalty call on the receiver? Was it Dallas Baker? Who was the call?
Yeah, it was an unsportsmanlike conduct. It was a dirty play. There's no place for that type of behavior in this game.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
And you might find some AI altered video that would show Jonathan Wade first striking Dallas Baker. But to be clear, that is altered.
Oh, that's AI. Okay.
That in real life.
Well, I was sitting about row 12 in section C, so I thought I saw something, but maybe I was mistaken. I don't know. 20 years go by. My brain's a little foggy, boys.
Baker was fortunate to be allowed to stay in the game with his wrong actions. Yeah.
Were there any plays after that? No, I was there for the Gaffney catch in the end zone. Like I was in the building for a lot of that stuff. I think I saw Tim.
That was a 4-year makeup call from the Gaffney catch in 2000.
There you go.
Dallas Baker penalty in 2004.
A nice little drizzle during the Gaffney game, I think too. No, it was I was there for Tim Tebow's last game. I think in Neyland Stadium. Was that 08, I think, or 09, one of the two. I can't remember. Just weird things happen, man. Florida, Tennessee get together, weird stuff happens. So, alumni concerned, analysts not concerned. There you go.
That is fair. Last thing out the door, Michigan USC. This is a big game in the Big Ten, 3:30 Saturday. What do you think about that when USC playing at the Big House?
If USC goes in there and plays the way they've played all season, and Michigan goes in there and plays the way they've played all season, USC is going to win by 2 touchdowns. Like this is very concerning if you're Michigan. They're making the quarterback change to Orji at quarterback instead of Davis Warren, who 3 interceptions against Arkansas State last week. Look, this team. There's most national championship teams lose a lot of players. This one lost a lot of everything. And when you lose all of the coaching staff, all NFL quality coaches, all NFL quality players on most of the offense, they've got an elite defense, and that's going to be a great test for Lincoln Riley and Miller Moss and USC. But the offense has got no identity. And the one area where you should hope that the new coach, Sharon Moore, should be able to do his job is as the offensive coordinator that he was last year. And their All-American tight end is injured now. So there's not a lot of optimism around Michigan. This is where they can change all of that, or USC puts them out of their misery. I like the Trojans to actually go in there and win. So,
Braden, what can people find with 440 Sports right now?
All right, so SEC Football Live every single Wednesday, 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 Central Standard God's Time on the 440 Sports YouTube page. Myself and Stephen Godfrey, we will spend a lot more time breaking down Tennessee and Oklahoma. We're going to talk about Billy Napier and who are the candidates. Godfrey has his ear to the ground on all that stuff, so he'll know who the top choices are, so we'll discuss that. I've got a technology question about college football coming up on that show today as well, so lots of stuff to do. Arkansas and Auburn, you got Bama and LSU and South Carolina, all those games we're going to break down today on the show, so check those out. And, of course, we've got all your Titans coverage, all your Predators coverage, all your Nashville SC coverage, whatever you need, we've got you covered. 440 Sports YouTube page on the podcast app of your choice, and, of course, on the socials. Give us a follow.
440 Sports. Braden, I try to take some notes during the show, during conversations. I have it down today that you have Tennessee guaranteed to be undefeated going into the Bama game October 19th. Is that correct?
I don't know when that is in the schedule. Does the Alabama game happen at the same time every year, or is it different? Like, I don't know when they're playing Alabama, so I don't know who's before them on the schedule.
Josh, yeah, I'll check to confirm.
All right, please.
We'll revisit next week. Big one Saturday, Tennessee at Oklahoma. Braden, appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again next week.
Peace and love, boys.
Braden Gall, 440 Sports, Athlon as well, joining us here on Josh and Swain. All guests on the Stanley Fencing and Gates hotline. 45 minutes to go. 865-656-9900 if you would like to join us. Alongside VFL and former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain, I'm Josh Ward. We continue on both 99.1 The Sports Animal and AM 640 The Sports Monster. Alongside VFL, former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain. He'll be on the sideline in Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday night when the Vols play the Sooners. We appreciate you hanging out with us, 865-656-9900 to be a part of the show. Todd texting in, I hear Jabbar Gaffney is now a professional hot potato player. The 2000 touchdown catch, as it was signaled. 2004, Tennessee, little payback with the win against the Gators. That was 20 years ago today.
Glad to be a part of it.
Did you watch the 50-yard field goal, or did you look away?
I watched it. I watched it just like this. And when he made it, I felt like I reacted just like this. I don't think I had a reaction.
There was a lot of running around when that happened.
There's a lot of running around. I don't know if I was one of those people. That's just, I don't know, man. That's just what my personality is as a player. So, I think when he missed it, I didn't have a reaction, and I think when he made it, I didn't have a reaction. I was happy that he made it, no doubt about it. But I didn't have like that instant reaction like you saw with some of the other players running around, celebrating. Like I was super, super happy inside. Like you couldn't tell.
Yeah, it's like everybody's different. So like Jay Wright, remember when Villanova hit the game winner? Was it Jenkins that hit the game winner against North Carolina?
Yep. That was me.
Yeah, Wright standing there on the sideline, and he sees it goes in. His team has just won the national championship.
Yeah.
And he turns and walks up to shake hands. And you couldn't watch Jay Wright, and the game was tied, right? But you couldn't watch Jay Wright and know what had happened.
Yeah. Like my kid a couple years ago hit like a game-winning shot at AAU, and like both hands are up. Yeah. But as a player, I scored a touchdown to potentially tie the game. We missed the extra point. We kick a field goal to win against Florida, 108,000 fans, and I'm just stoic.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. That's just how it happened. Okay.
Yep. You were probably stoked by yourself, but stoic nonetheless, and that's okay. That was 20 years ago today. Tennessee's win against Florida. This would be the typical time, obviously, if the Florida game was 20 years ago today, to be talking about the Gators, but instead we're talking about the Sooners. It's a new year, new SEC, and Tennessee gets to welcome Oklahoma to the league. We are of the belief this is a coincidence that Oklahoma's first SEC game is with Josh Heupel's football team. It just happened to work out that way scheduling-wise, right?
Is this one of those cases where I have to play the Wii fence?
I thought I was speaking for both of us. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Sure, Josh. I am surprised. I'm shocked that they would try to increase the ratings and get more eyeballs on this matchup by forcing Josh Heupel to return home for the first time to play OU.
They probably didn't even realize it when they made the schedule.
Coincidence.
They were told after the fact. Josh Heupel played there. He's actually kind of a legend.
We had no idea. No idea. Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, we'll talk to Kel Gundy tomorrow at 12:30. He is quoted in the ESPN story that we recommend you check out. Chris Lowe and Jake Trotter wrote that. We'll talk to Chris Lowe tomorrow as well. But Kel will be able to provide some good insight both into the matchup, what to know about the personnel with Oklahoma. And he was on staff when Josh Heupel was there, player and coach. So we'll get some good insight from Kel tomorrow at 12:30 on the show.
Can you get Kel Gundy to conference in Bob Stoops during the interview?
We try. Yeah, Kel's working with the sports animal in Oklahoma City, so I'm sure he could, do something for us there.
Nah, I'm just kidding.
What was it?
I wouldn't want to talk if I was Stoops either.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing. We can, like we talked about the Notes app statement that he put out, and he misspelled Josh Heupel's name. That's one thing. The decision not to do interviews this week, I think, is the correct one.
Yeah, that was the best decision since retiring.
Let's hear you, OU fans, is what Stoops tweeted out.
That wasn't the best decision.
No?
The choice to push send without, checking the spelling on here.
Yeah, he should have spelled the legend's last name correctly.
Yeah, for But hey, I'm just
If I tweeted out something about Peyton Manning and I spelled it Maning, I'd be deleting very quickly.
yeah. You know that gif of when Kevin Durant and Draymond Green play together, and Draymond Green is like, and Kevin Durant's kind of shaking his head up and down. Like, yeah. That's me to Josh Heupel. Hey, you know you spelled your name wrong. You know they fired you. Hey man, hey. Josh Heupel shaking his head. Yeah, I got something for him. Yeah, I got something for him.
You should tell Josh Heupel before the game, just walk up to him and say, I heard somebody ask Bob if he's going to come say hello to Josh. And he said, Josh who?
No, I ain't messing with Heupel, dude.
Yeah. That's probably the right move.
Yeah, I don't mess with him, man. Dude is intense. Even after the game, after we win, I stay clear and I let him say something, but I leave him alone because I understand in that moment that competitive fire, that competitive spirit. I understand, so I leave him alone.
Are you going to rock the "In Josh We Trust" T-shirt at the game?
No. Why'd I do that? People might be confused. I'm talking about you since you're so famous.
You can let the people think what they think. That's what I would say. Dan Mullen, he thinks Tennessee is a top 4 team in college football. Did you see his top 25? He has Ohio State as the best team in the country, Texas, Bama, and then Tennessee. Georgia, number 5.
Dan Mullen feeling good this week, ain't he?
Yeah, he is.
Y'all fired Dan Mullen for this? Oh, man.
Really didn't work out.
What did Jimmy Butler say? Y'all got rid of me for Tobias Harris? Y'all got rid of me for Billy Napier? What?
He's walking around the ESPN studios. Billy Napier over me?
Oh, man. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Dan Mullen is living his best life right now.
Yeah, he is.
Best life. Appreciate the love, Dan Mullen.
Yeah, number 4 in the country. He ranks Oklahoma number 15, just for reference.
I dig it.
My favorite prediction of the show so far today, Dirty South Vol saying 61-20.
Goodness gracious.
61-20. That's 41-point difference.
That's a lot of points, man.
Yep. But hey, Tennessee beat NC State by 41.
I think OU is a little bit better than NC State. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. I think they're a little bit better. Just a little bit.
Evan says Josh Heupel is about to make Oklahoma pay its initiation fee for joining the SEC. I like that.
Heupel is a good dude. He won't pour it on, I don't think.
Todd earlier said Jabbar Gaffney believes is a professional hot potato player. Another text with a more correct update saying Gaffney plays for the Utah Blaze, Swain's former team.
Oh yeah, yeah. We got a 10-year reunion coming up, man. Me and Jabbar Gaffney gonna chop it up at the ceremony.
A couple of BFLs, Blazes for life. We'll come back. We have an attaboy to hand out, 865-656-9900 if you'd like to be a part of the show. 30 minutes remain right here on Josh and Swain.
for the Volunteers. Waiting for the snap. Henderson to hold. There it is. Kick on the way. The kick is long and high and spinning. Good! Will Hoyt. Will Hoyt hits from 50 yards out, and Tennessee leads 30-28. He has redeemed himself in a large way. Will Hoyt drills a 50-yard field goal, and Tennessee leads 30-28.
Has there ever been a GOAT to hero shot like that? He missed an extra point and made a 50-yarder. Incredible.
20 years ago today, that's the kick that gave Tennessee a 30-28 win over Florida. Swain was on the field for Tennessee that night. Had a huge touchdown catch in that game. The Vols got the win. That was 20 years ago today. Part of why I love that play so much, Swain, is I've met and been able to talk to James Will Hoyt a number of times, like him a lot. That's the kind of game where if he doesn't get a chance to redeem himself and it's 28-27 final, that's something he has to live with forever, having missed that extra point that would have been so costly. On the flip side, he hits this 50-yard field goal where it's a heroic moment that he gets to live with forever and be celebrated. So knowing James and thinking so highly of him and knowing what playing football at Tennessee meant to him, that's why I love that game and the way that everything unfolded so much.
Yeah, James loves Tennessee, loved that he was able to redeem himself to make that kick to beat Florida. But I think there was a time when James was kind of tired of talking about it every single year, only for us to lose to Florida. Like, he was like, all right, I'm tired of being the last team to beat Florida. Like,
yeah, it went 12 years with that being the last time Tennessee won. It wasn't until 16 when the Vols got another win. So, yeah, I think you said I'm proud of the moment, but tired of it being the last one.
Exactly.
So he was glad when Tennessee won in 16.
Exactly. Because, I mean, I remember being part of those conversations, too, because I was on that team. And, you know, as much as, you know, it felt pretty cool to still be remembered, because I remember being a player and having old players come to us and tell us, like, there's going to be a time and place where, like, people won't remember you as much, and there's going to be a new generation of players. And so it's pretty cool to be remembered for being a good player here and, you know, having big wins. But my goodness, around 2011, 2012, I was like, all right, guys, this time to talk about a current Florida win.
Yep. Al Wilson, Fred White, and everybody from 98, they are very proud of what they accomplished. They want to no longer be the last team to win a title at Tennessee, SEC or national.
Correct. It's been a while. It's been a while. So I know how Al Wilson feels about this game.
Yes.
Based on my conversation with him at halftime in the Kent State game.
Yeah. What did Al think about that level of competition last Saturday?
Let's just say that when he was made aware that Kent State declined to have shortened clocks,
yeah,
Al felt like I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just say that.
Did he want the starters back in? Oh, they want to keep playing, huh?
All about B2A.
Al Wilson, he loves Tennessee football too. He very much cares about what's happening with the program, and I know believes in what's happening too. So big game coming up on Saturday. We appreciate you being with us here on Josh and Swain today. VFL former Tennessee wide receiver Jason Swain here, and every day we hand out attaboys and attagirls thanks to Native Nursery. Great local company. It's open for contractors and landscapers, and love stories like this. We hand out attaboys and attagirls. I'd say both here, as it goes to the Baker and Emily Mayfield Foundation. Baker Mayfield, of course, the quarterback now of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but saw this news yesterday. The foundation that Baker and his wife Emily have put together received word that a local Florida high school was in a position where they may have to turn kids away from their fall football program because they didn't have enough equipment for the kids. So the Baker and Emily Mayfield Foundation donated $17,900 for new shoulder pads and helmets to make sure they would have the equipment that they needed to have all the players they needed on the team. So attaboys, attagirls to everybody involved with the Baker and Emily Mayfield Foundation for stepping up and helping that high school there in Florida.
Yeah, 100%, man. Sports costs money. Costs money to play. Costs money to get equipment, and not every program is fortunate enough to be able to provide for all their players. And in a game that we see, declining numbers in terms of youth sports, this is very, very important for Baker Mayfield to do this. There's been a lot of talk about football. There's been an attack on football, you could say, but Baker Mayfield stepping up along with his wife and making this happen is going to allow for more young people to play the game that I love and a lot of us love.
Yep, helping out young athletes like this is very important. I'll give a shout out as we hand out the Attaboy and Attagirl to Baker and Emily Mayfield. But Goods for Greatness is a local organization founded by Rhiannon Potke, who does things just like this, helping people locally and kids outside the area have the equipment and different things like that they need to be able to play sports. Can't play sports if you don't have what you need to be out there on the field or in whatever sport we're talking about. So today we hand out Attaboys and Attagirls to everybody involved with the Baker and Emily Mayfield Foundation. And every day we hand out those Attaboys and Attagirls thanks to the Native Nursery, open for contractors and landscapers. It's your one-stop destination offering quality wholesale plants, trees, and landscaping materials, including boulders, flagstone, mulch, and more. They can even take your leaves and hardscape waste for a low flat rate. If you're a contractor or landscaper, make the Native Nursery your go-to location. Today, call or stop by. You can stop by at 3473 Louisville Road, just 5 minutes from Pellissippi off the Topside Road exit, or give Ben and Ted a call at 865-310-3256 for the Native Nursery, open for contractors and landscapers. And we'll come back with one segment to go here on Josh and Swain. We will wrap up today's conversation, continuing to get ready for Tennessee and Oklahoma on Saturday. One segment to go today on Josh and Swain. segment of Josh and Swain. I like this one in the text box. David says, because of that Florida game, the win 20 years ago, 04, Swain is always my favorite creative player in every NCAA game I've played. My 99.
All right. I'll take that.
I like that. That's a good description too. Who's your 99? Your ultimate player. Who's your 99? Swain is David's 99.
Probably not good. That's probably not a good question for me because I don't play the game enough to be able to answer that.
I haven't played a snap on the new game. Haven't played it down.
I mean, I played it. My brother crushed me so bad he got bored and got up and start cleaning.
So he was like a Vol in the second half, a Vol starter in the second half against Kent State. Like, let me find something else to do here.
Yeah, man. He just got up in the middle of the third quarter. I was like, what are you doing? He just got up. He was just bored. I stunk that bad.
Speaking of, Nathan says Florida wants to charge a talent fee for its fans too, but they don't have the talent yet.
Ooh.
Burn for the Gators.
It's happening. We see Danny White kind of be forward thinking and innovative. There's going to be more schools that follow Tennessee's lead, and however you feel about it, you're not wrong. It can feel like it's not fair that the fans have to, pay for this stuff, but it's what's going to happen all over the country. And I would say, looking on the positive side, I'm just fortunate that we're a school that can pull this off. Because there's going to be a lot of schools that won't be able to pull this off. And they'll struggle. And they'll lose. There's a handful of teams around the country that can pull off what we're pulling off right now. And Tennessee's one of them. I'm just thankful that we are one of those teams.
Tennessee went through, let's say, some tough times. Is that fair?
Yes.
Somehow that led Tennessee into this position where not every, but almost every athletic department would look at what's going on with UT, with the athletic department, with football, and then the other sports, and be really envious of what's going on in Knoxville.
Yeah, not only do you have the resources, man, but you got the tenacity, the mentality. Like, there's a full charge mentality with our administration. Some of it probably is the fact that we lost during those years, and Randy Boyd has been a Tennessee fan longer than Danny White's been here, and so board trustees, we know that they Tennessee fans and want to see this thing turned around. So like there is an aggressiveness with our approach that I don't know if other schools will have. Not because they don't have the money, but because I don't know if they are starving like we are. Nebraska probably is. Miami showing that they are, but like not only do we have the vision and the talent and the culture, but man, we got the attitude too. We want to get this thing done.
This is a bit random as well, but walking around campus before the game on Saturday, Tennessee, I think, also might be at its highest level when it comes to merch. The merch game with Tennessee, with the design, the logos, everything that's going on, all-time high right now. If you want to be a Tennessee fan, look good, feel good, you never look better as a Tennessee fan than right now. You can go old school classic look. You can go with some of the new looks.
That's true.
Nobody's beating Tennessee in the merch game right now.
Did you see anybody with the smoky gray jersey with the orange and gray checkerboard shoulder pads? You see anybody walking around with that? Or did you watch like a football game from overseas?
Yeah, that was another example of maybe Tennessee going through some tougher times with that look.
Man, that jersey was so ugly.
I mean, who signed off in that situation?
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Don't worry about
that jersey scream Vols.
Yeah.
Like if jerseys could talk, that jersey would say Vols.
Yeah. Are you going to wear Jordans on the sideline Saturday, or are you going just Nike since Oklahoma is a Jordan school?
Well, I mean, they don't have orange Jordan. I mean, they got Jordan, and I'm envious. I wish we had Jordan, but like, it don't look all that great because it's red. It would be better if it was orange. I got some new insoles last week, and I think I'm gonna be good to go.
All right.
I think I'm gonna be good to
Breaking
go.
news.
I saw Cole. He had his dad shoes on, with his get up, real spiffy, but had his dad shoes on because he had those Brooks on.
Okay, because he likes the Jays.
Yeah, absolutely. Cole is very fashion savvy, man. He used to own a clothing store back in Huntsville, back in the day. So that's actually how we met. But yeah, Cole was looking like a dad though with those shoes on. So I don't know if I can do that yet. I'm getting close though because I'm close to comfort over style. I'm getting there.
Close. Swain, we're getting closer to Tennessee and Oklahoma on Saturday. We've had a ton of fun today. We appreciate everybody tuning in, weighing in during the show. Riley Thomas filling in for Joel today. Thanks so much. Tomorrow, heading out to Pigeon Forge. We'll be at the Old Forge Distillery tomorrow, Swain.
Turn all the way up.
All the way up. Getting ready for Tennessee and Oklahoma on Saturday night. So thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back tomorrow with a ton of Tennessee-Oklahoma talk. We are getting closer to the weekend. Can't wait for it. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Tyler and Will take over on the Sports Animals side. We'll be back on the Sports Monster in the Tri-Cities as well tomorrow at noon on Josh and Swain.